a Black woman, I think that we should do everything in our power to reclaim our power, to reclaim our bodies. Historically, it has not been our choice.
If you look back to slavery times, like Black women would have a baby and the baby would be taken right for her arms. Like that's a form of reproductive control.
I had my first real encounter with the conversation about reproductive health when a friend of mine was raped by her uncle. And she could not get support from her family, but she also had no support in the community.
When I was 19 years old, I had an abortion. I was a sophomore in college, and I'm so grateful that reproductive choice was available to me.
Well, I was introduced to Planned Parenthood when I was actually married, and we were doing family planning.
I've used Planned Parenthood in my own life many times for breast screenings. I am high risk for breast cancer.
I mean, if you look at the testing that Planned Parenthood does, it's all about creating different options to basically deal with some of the diseases and things that attack our young African American women every single day.
It's important that we are educated and that we help educate each other so that people who are preying on you for political reasons don't win.
And the question of abortion is not one for politicians to make. And I think the clergy have to stand up and say that.
You have to challenge people when they say they're pro-life, when the only life they seem to care about is life inside the womb, or what they say is life inside the womb. But outside the womb, they'll send you to the death penalty. Outside the womb, they won't give you health care. Outside the womb, they will provide more guns. Moral leaders have to challenge this form of hypocrisy, because that's what it is.
My vagina is no politician's business. It's very much that simple.
Whenever I hear politicians talk about women's rights and women's health, I want them to put a sock in it and have a row of seats. Take a seat. Because you will never understand what it feels like to be a woman. You will never understand what it feels like to have your body and the decisions that you make about your body trying to be policed.
Women are out there creating legislation for men not to have access to Viagra, but men are actually having conversations about abortion and reproductive rights for women. It's fascinating to me, but what it's about is the same thing about race. It's about control.
Someone is saying it is more important to defund an entity that would help you rather than you having help. When we tie this all together, the Black community has been defunded for centuries.
To take a Planned Parenthood out of a community means that you are taking away a facility that provides breast cancer screenings, that provides STD and STI screenings, that provides access to birth control and free condoms and a number of other really important health services.
Day after day in my courtroom, I see families, and they talk about their challenges as it relates to sexual awareness. People don't know. And what happens is the lack of knowledge about sexual health. That affects the fabric of who you are. Because I tell people all the time, your body is your temple. If you don't know how your body works, you're not going to understand how your life works.
When you defund the Planned Parenthood, you are defunding dreams. And you are sustaining the continual inequality that happens in urban communities.
The role of men in this conversation is to first shut up and listen, right? Like, I have never had to get a pap smear.
We need more African American men, and I would like to issue a challenge to more African American men to not be afraid of being labeled as a feminist.
When you create a world that is equitable for women, you free men too. When women prosper, men prosper also. And part of that prospering is women to have the right to control their own bodies.
My need to be able to make my own decisions about my own life, about my body, about my family, is very much connected to the struggle for Black liberation.
One of the issues is that I think that we are talking about reproductive health care in a bubble. There are a lot of movements happening right now that are important, but I think that we also need to just kind of connect that in so many ways. When we talk about reproductive health care, we should talk about it in the same conversation that we're talking about economic justice. And we should talk about it in the same conversation that we're talking about voting rights. And we should talk about it when we're talking about criminal reform. It is a part of a whole.
I mean, all of this boils down to our own self-empowerment. If we don't speak up, then we don't get our rights.
So many people out there don't have a voice and no one is listening to them. And being that I've been given this platform of visibility for people to care what I have to say, it's my duty to pay it forward. It's my duty to be an advocate for those who are advocateless.
My job as a public servant is to help. So why would I not support entities that are trying to help? I stand with Planned Parenthood because they're trying to help people.
I believe that Planned Parenthood is in a unique position to impact areas it's not even thought about because there is such a resource there and a wealth and a 100-year legacy of changing the world. So let's just go all out. That's what I want.
I stand.
I stand. I stand.
I stand.
I stand.
I stand with Planned Parenthood.